Good afternoon, traders. Welcome to this week's Elliott Wave Forex and Cryptocurrency Market Analysis webinar. Hope you all had a wonderful week. Right, we are looking into the new week, and it's all been slow in the last couple of trading sessions, but we're going to look at what we have been looking at in our trading room. Right, so I was just having a talk with somebody just before the wedding start. The wedding, just before the webinar started. We were talking about how I have this 20 minutes talk before the webinar actually starts. So if you are not interested in anything that I have to talk about in the beginning, you can just skip through and go straight into the timestamps. All the pairs that we're going to look at this morning are timestamped, so you can just go onto the description of the video and click on the show more tab. If you click on the show more tab, then you can go straight to only the pairs that you're interested in. You don't have to watch through everything. Okay, so that actually helps you a lot. And also, if you want to track how I have been analyzing a specific pair, so go to all my videos, just go to the channel and just pick any going back. So for example, if there's a euro pair that has been discussed about 2 or 3 months back or 6 months back, you can go 6 months back onto the videos. As you can see, they're all listed there, so you can go as far back as 2 years back, 2 years, and just click on any of the video and go into the timestamp of each and every pair that you will be interested in. Okay, so that's how you can benefit from this. So also under the description of the videos, you'll find my contact details. We have just concluded our August course last week. So the next course is going to be on the 9th of September for 2 weeks. It's always a 2 weeks course. And then from September, the next course will only be in November. Okay, but we'll announce that. So if you're interested in the course, you can email me as per the contact there. You can contact me via email or my mobile number, which you can use via Telegram or WhatsApp, as well as my Telegram channel there. My trading view link is also there, but don't send the inquiries through the trading view inbox because I hardly check that. The first 3 methods are the quickest for you to contact me. All right, so let's get started with what we've been looking at in the last couple of sessions. I did say last week that August is usually a slow month. Traditionally, it's a slow month, and that's mostly because you start getting pullbacks and corrections. You saw that in the last 3 months, we've just been on a trend, especially on the pound pairs. They've just been on a downtrend, and in the last week, we have been trying to get continuation patterns to the downside. So we'll look at those setups. Let's look at the setups that we have been trading in the week. So this US dollar JPY, this is actually an old one, so I'm going to skip through that one. US dollar CAD is also one for August. So we're going to skip through that one. You can watch that in last week's video. We already discussed these ones. Gold, the 1,500 target, we've already reached from 1,200. Okay. So that's not for last week. I'm looking for the trade setups for the last week. Okay. Let's go through. I'm specifically looking at the pound pairs because we've been trying to get through into the pound pair. So now here's one here. This pound US dollar. Let's look at pound US dollar as one of the setups that we've been looking at, and I've been updating these ones. So let's look at this one. So this one made a move into the blue box, and then it dropped here like that. But then since then, we started correcting again, and we have been in this corrective structure now, which has not yet dropped. So we're going to have a look at it. Let's go through and look into the actual chart right now, the current price on this one, pound US dollar. This is the new setup that I was looking for. So the first one from the blue box dropped like that. So now, if you look at this one, the first one was the first blue box. I wanted this one to drop from here. It dropped and then pushed higher, and now we are looking at this to be making a double corrective structure like that. Okay, so we're going to update this one as we do the market analysis. So this could be a 3-wave pullback. You'll see that the other pound pairs are looking downside. Okay, so this one has now dropped like that. The update on this one, let's have a look here. Let's go back to Slack. So this is what we use in our trading room. So this is a trade setup channel where I post my specific setups. So pound US dollar, let's just look at the latest pound US dollar trade here. and its update. See if you can find it there. So this is the one here. So the first one here, we were looking for it to go into the blue box and then drop. But what happened was it made this double corrective structure here, and then it pushed up higher. Then we'll be looking for this one to drop now. We're still around these levels. That is pound US dollar. Now pound yen. Let's look at pound yen as well. So pound yen, I also posted this one on TradingView. Most of you would have seen that I posted this one when it was still making this corrective structure here. I wanted it to drop here. Now realistically, this is how you trade practically, because as much as you know the direction of the market, you don't know how the corrective structure is going to look like. It's always going to be a three-wave structure, but is it going to be a smaller degree correction, like 1, 2, 3, as you can see here, and we drop, or is it going to make a higher degree? So 1, 2, 3 here, we then made a higher degree. So then now this is what this looked like. So this was the update. As when we saw this one making a higher degree, we could see that it was going to push higher and then drop. Now if you go look at your charts, you'll see that we've pushed higher, and then now we have come around this level, and then we'll be looking for this to drop here. So these have not started playing out yet, so we're going to be watching this. Let's go to the real price on this one. Is pound yen. Let's look at the one that I've posted on TradingView and its update as well. So this was pound yen. You can see this is when I posted it. It was still here. Made this move here and now making this double corrective structure. So let's look at this one here. So I have actually updated it as it was playing out. Let's have a look here. See, as it was breaking lower here, but instead it just made this three-wave move here and then pushed higher. The next update, you can see that's when it was making the doubles. Then we could see that it was making a double. It was not going to drop from there. It actually made a bigger structure like this. Now we are here. We'll be looking for this one to drop. So we'll be looking at this whole thing as a three-wave move. Okay. Now this is the latest update, as you can see. Latest update, what happened with this one here? It pushed into the blue box and now it moved from this level. So now what we're going to be looking for in the next week is this. Now we're going to be looking at this corrective structure. So you can imagine how many people would have lost money during this period, because you know the direction of the market, you know it's going to drop, but you don't know how to forecast the end of the correction and how to protect yourself in case of this. Now imagine you do this, you try to sell, you lose the trade. It does this, you try to sell, you lose the trade. Now you think this is the one, you sell, you lose the trade. Now you try to sell here, it goes up, you lose the trade. Now 3 times you've lost the trade, and by the time you give up, it actually does what you've expected anyway. So that's why I say forecasting is easy, but the timing of the market is what is critical. Now we have got this one here. It has dropped here, and we are now going to be looking for a setup to the downside. So let's watch this in the week for a drop. Okay, the yen pairs have already started dropping, so this one should follow suit as well. So let me just see, there's something on the chat box. Let's have a look here. Welcome everybody. Welcome Rodney. All right, so this is what pound yen looks like. I also posted pound chief. Let's look at pound chief. Pound chief was not posted on TradingView. It is on our Slack group. Is pound chief. Now similar to pound US dollar, pound chief has done exactly that. Now you see here you had 1, 2, 3, and then you're expecting a drop. It doesn't come. Instead it makes a double 1, 2, 3 here. Okay, you can see that this is now an 11 string sequence. 1, 2, 3, 4. We expected the 5 with the Z here. If you go to your price, this is exactly what has happened. It moved up, and now we're looking for this to drop here. We've already made the impulse down. Now we're looking for a corrective structure. Let's look at the price on this one. So these are not trades as yet. You're looking for these so you can get an entry. So let's look at that pound chief here. You see here, so this is where we were. We're looking for this one to push higher. It did push higher, and now we have dropped. How did we know that it was going to reverse exactly at this point and then drop? Now, what are you waiting for? Similar to pound yen for the next week or for the next trading session, this is what you're going to be looking for. Now, you've got a clear 11 string sequence. It's 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3. Correction. 1, 2, 3. Now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 swing, and then it comes here. Okay, now we're getting this corrective structure. This is what you're looking for. You want this confirmation for this to drop. Okay, so that's the pound pairs, and that's how we're going to be looking at them. Now, you don't always get it right. Okay, you don't always get it right. I mean, this is not magic. Sometimes you get them wrong. So now let's have a look at this clear one here. Now, this is pound AUD. Now, pound AUD, I was looking at this as an impulse and this whole thing as a corrective structure, and looking at this one as my blue box. But we've dropped from the blue box like that, but this has now done this. We've retested the previous high. Okay, so now we have to update and see what structure it's going to be now, because that's not the one that you were looking for. It was not even an alternative. We're looking for this one to drop. So we're going to update this one during the market analysis. And this happens. That's why you need to have more than just the Elliott wave theory forecasting tool. You also need to have a specific tool that assists you to forecast the end of the correction and a confirmation of the trading setup. All right. Now, let's have a look. And it's not the only one. The same thing has happened with pound in New Zealand. I expected pound AUD. The two AUD pairs as well. This is Euro AUD. You can see this one has made 1, 2, 3. It looked like it made a three-wave pullback. It has also retested, almost retested the previous high. But we are now looking for it to drop, and that I will explain during the market analysis. Now, this Euro New Zealand is an interesting one. We're going to discuss this during the market analysis because there is a very similar structure to the one that I showed you on the Euro pairs last week, where I showed you the Euro structure that is similar to that on Euro US dollar. So there's a Euro US dollar structure that is similar to that of Bitcoin. So we're going to have a look at this one. This one has also done exactly the same thing. So we are expecting this one to drop here like that. So we'll be looking for that specific trade to push lower. So let's look at that during market analysis. It has not played out yet. It is a setup for now. We're looking for that to confirm. Now, EUROCHF, this one has been dropping from right at the top. And now this one has made this one, this structure, regular sort of a zigzag here, dropping from the blue box. Even though it did this, it is still dropping. We are here now. We'll be looking for this to drop like that. And those are the setups that we have been looking for. As you can see here, it's not like it's unlike the other weeks where I'll be showing you all those trades that have played out, that have dropped, because you can see this is what is happening in the week. Nothing has happened. The price did not go anywhere. It was just contained in corrective structures, and this is how you lose money. And by the time you lose money, that is when the impulses are coming, and this is where the money is. There is no money here. You don't trade this. Okay, so even if you know the direction of the market and you can focus the correction, you don't trade this, you trade the confirmation, you trade the impulses, and that is the skill that is required to be able to do this. And you need to be realistic and be practical and use risk management, because like I showed you, there are some pairs that did not play out because the structure that we were looking at did not actually play out. Now, those are the setups that we've been looking at in the week. We will be updating them because they now look like very, very clear setups for the next coming sessions. All right, so let's get started with today's market analysis. We'll start with the cryptocurrencies. Let's start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin. Now, I'm going to show you what I showed you last week on Euro US dollar. The same structure that I'm looking at Bitcoin has happened a couple of times on the Euro pair. Let's get this one off here. Just want to show you those patterns. Let's make this one full screen here. Okay, let's do that. Right, so let's start with Euro. Show those patterns again. I've shown this for the last 3 weeks. I'll be doing this until this pattern completes or is invalidated. So this is Euro. Let's go first to the weekly, so I can show you how this looks. So on the weekly, there's this structure here on the Euro. Let's make full screen, yes, so it can be clear. This is very important because when we traded the Euro, we looked at that specific structure to drop this. So let's have a look here. So what we're looking for is something like for Bitcoin to do something like this, a pullback like this. But where does that come from? Let's first look at this one. So if you look at this one here, you've got a 3-wave move down. I'm going to use a different color here, a pullback in red here, we drop, we come back, and then drop. That's number one. Now I'm going to come into this pattern here. Right now I'm going to come here because there was a similar pattern that made this drop here, and there's a similar pattern here that made this drop. So let's first look at this one, and then we look at this one, and then we go to Bitcoin. So now let's go to the 4 hour and look at that structure. Let's go 4 hour. Same pattern, exactly the same pattern. So now you can see this is on the 4 hour. The first one we're looking at on the weekly. Let me bring the original pattern and clear this here. Okay, now again, you will see here that we've got the exact same pattern here. You've got 1, you've got 2, you've got 3. Pull back in red. What does the blue do? It drops and pulls back. What happens after that? You drop. Okay, so this was this pattern here. Now the latest one that has made the current drop was this one. See, this is the current drop on the euro. We've been looking at this structure for the last couple of months. Now this is the latest one. Let's look at that similar pattern. And euro has now formed a similar pattern. Now this is another one. You see here, you've got 1, 2, 3 down. What happens with the blue? You've got a pullback in red. What does the blue do? It drops, comes back. What happens after that? It drops. You get the big drop, and you are trying to get this big drop. Now this is the euro. Let's go to Bitcoin. I'm going to remove this chart now so you can see the pattern, just the pattern without the chart. And you can see that it's exactly the same pattern in different time frames on the same pair. And every single time the results becomes the same. After this pattern, you get the drop. After this pattern, you get the drop. After this pattern, you get the drop. You get these fractals happening right there. Now, let's look at Bitcoin now. So this is the structure now, the pair that we're now looking at. I was doing all that so we can look at the Bitcoin structure. Let's have a look at Bitcoin. I've done this last week, and then we're going to update the structure as it has played out. And this is oil now. I'm looking for Bitcoin. Let's look at Bitcoin. Right. What did we say about Bitcoin last week? Down here will be Bitcoin. Now remember, this is a completely different pair now. What do we have here? We've got 1, 2, 3 waves down. Pull back in 3 waves. That's the red. Last week we were here. The week before I said we were going to drop from here. And this is the drop that we got. Last week I said expect that you're going to get a pullback. This is the pullback that you've got now. That is the last week. And from there, what are we expecting? We're expecting this to drop. We're expecting this to drop. Now, if I remove the Bitcoin chart, do you see any difference between 1, 2, 3, and Bitcoin? Exactly the same pattern. Now, if we look at Euro New Zealand, let's go to Euro New Zealand. Euro New Zealand has just formed a similar pattern. Euro New Zealand has just formed a similar pattern, although I'm not doing Euro New Zealand now. We're still going to do the analysis on the euro, and we're going to be looking at a similar pattern. Now look at Euro New Zealand and what has happened here. So Euro New Zealand, this one here, 1, 2, let's do this again. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3 down. Now you get pullback in red, 3 waves. What are we expecting with the Euro New Zealand? We're expecting a drop in blue, a pullback, and then we'll expect this to happen. Obviously, this now on Bitcoin is what you're looking for. This is what you're looking for. On this one, you still have 1, 2, 3 to play out. Now, if I remove the chart, you'll see that it will be exactly the same pattern. How many times? 1, 2, 3. It's repeating for the 4th time here, it's repeating for the 5th time here. And that is how we'll be looking at this. Okay, so somebody's talking about a triangle. I'm not looking at a triangle. Okay. Desmond is saying, last week I said I will explain how these patterns are related with the Elliott wave theory. Can you do it here, or one should I remind you on our daily market analysis? We'll do this during the daily market analysis. What I meant by this is I'm not just looking at these patterns to be similar. Obviously, you can see that there is Elliott wave analysis on this. There is a cycle and sequence. That's why you can see that the charts are labeled. So all I'm saying is that this is not, I mean, you cannot trade these based solely on these patterns. So you need to look at the Elliott wave structure and the cycle. Now that's what we're going to be looking at. So where is this? What are we looking at for Bitcoin? Remember, this is the Bitcoin structure. We have now dropped from here. We're just going to be looking for pullbacks so that this one can drop. Okay, so that is Bitcoin for the next week. Let me just open it now. Again, let's have a look at Bitcoin. Look at the lower time frame and see what we're going to be looking at in the next week. This is the 3 wave that has happened, that we forecasted was going to happen in blue, has now broken to the downside. Possible another 3 wave corrective structure here and then a drop. Or even if that does not happen, this can be all the 3 waves pushed down, this corrects, this can be a nice entry, and this let this one drop to the downside. Okay, so use risk management because there's a number of ways this can drop. This one can drop here, retest, and then go, and that will have formed a regular flat. Okay, so either way you should protect yourself with the structure that is going to play out here, and that's what you're going to be looking at on Bitcoin. Now let's look at Ethereum. I'm just going to look at a smaller, lower time frame. So Ethereum, also you're looking for a corrective structure here to do that. Possible 3 wave pullback, and then we get something like this. Okay, I'm just looking at this corrective structure. You can see that we've got an impulsive move here in the opposite direction, and this impulsive move has to be corrected as well. So let me just take this one off here. So this way, this corrective structure has started. It started with a pullback. Now this has to complete somehow, and it will not drop until this has completed. Now you can see that we've got another pulsive move here. We've got what looks like a corrective structure here. So something must complete the pattern before it drops. You can either do this, but you must end up with the last move being the red here. Okay, so you can see that this is your pattern. So it cannot just make an impulse and drop. Okay, that does not make sense structurally. So you need to have a complete structure. So let's see how this one is going to play out and look at that corrective structure. All right. Excellent. Let's look at Litecoin. You can see it's a similar structure. You've got a pullback, and that pullback also has to be corrected. You're on the downtrend here. You've got this pullback. You've got what looks like a pulsing move here. You could have something like this. That's a pattern. Something like that, and then you drop. Okay, so what are you going to be looking at? You're going to be looking for a WXY structure here, and then a drop. It has to complete the cycle, the cycle. So, and that's what you're going to be looking at on Litecoin. This to correct before dropping. And why we're looking for it to drop? Because Bitcoin, we're looking for a pullback to the downside. All right, so that is Litecoin. And lastly, Ripple. Ripple, let's go to the daily. On Ripple, Ripple has actually reached the level that I wanted it to reach. This is down here on the daily. Let's show the analysis here. We've now retested this level. If this level is not going to be respected, that means you're going to have a 3 wave structure here or any corrective structure here, and this is going to push down. But you can see that my expectation was that from here, we're going to make a bounce to the upside, then we're going to drop. Why was I looking at that? I was simply looking at this 3 wave move to the downside and a 3 wave pullback. 1, 2, 3. So that's what I'm looking at, and then we should end up with this move here. Then the push to the upside. But for now, we need to watch what happens here. We will know if this move is invalidated or if it's going to play out by the structure that forms here, and you'll never miss it if you understand how to focus the structure. So now let's look at the structure that's forming right at the bottom. Now, if you look at this now, I've put on this line here so you can understand something here. You can see that we've got a spike here I don't know if this spike is on all the platforms. Please check your brokers and check if you've got that spike. So if it is, if it is there, then it means that it's valid. So now, when you look at this spike, if it is a real spike, then it should form part of market structure. Now, this is what you have. You've got 1, you've got 2, you've got 3. What you have here is an ABC structure. You don't ignore spikes. Okay, we don't ignore spikes. Why do we not ignore spikes? Because whether it was a spike or it's a solid candle, it doesn't matter. The point of the matter is, or the fact of the matter is, price has traded at that level, even if it is just for a split second, and that should be included as part of the market structure. Okay, so now when you look at that spike, you can see that you pushed up higher, then that candle pushed down. So now that is your impulsive move to the downside. Now you're looking for this one to start correcting. 1, 2, 3. And that is what you're looking for there. Okay, and that is what you're looking for. Looking for a corrective structure to complete, and then you get this continuation to the downside. Okay, so that will invalidate this move that I've been looking at on XRP to the downside. Right, so now let's continue. Now let's look at the indices. Let's look at S&P 500. All right, now S&P 500, last week we looked at this to be starting to form a ending diagonal, something like this here. For this to start making a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That can still be the case if this is going to play out like this. So now this is what we're going to look at. We've got a move here that is starting the wave 5. And we're going to have this one here, making this 1, 2, correction here, and a 3. You can see you also had a similar correction there. And then we'll be looking for this one to drop. Will this now, because this is a wave 5, so if it is a wave 5, it has to be 5 waves internally. So we'll look for this one to then make another 3-wave move to the upside, 3-wave move back, and a 3-wave move to the upside. All of that giving us that diagonal move, if it's gonna go up in a diagonal and not an impulse. But looking at this, you can already see that it's going up slowly. So there's a high likelihood that we start making that diagonal, and that is what it's gonna look like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, ending diagonal. So let's watch what happens. So the next immediate trade that we're going to be looking at is for this to break lower here. We can see that we've got an impulsive move here. We've now made a corrective structure. We've made this corrective structure in 3 waves here, and then another push to the downside. Can we get a corrective structure here and push lower here, and then push again higher? So let's watch. Now the only move that we're going to be looking at for the next week is this one to do this. Okay, then reverse. That is the S&P 500. You'll see that the Dow and the NASDAQ have got exactly the same structure. Let's go through the Dow. Exactly the same structure. You can see we've got an impulsive move to the downside. 3-wave pullback. 1, 2, 3. And now we're continuing with the move to the downside. We're looking for a corrective structure to do this. Now that's going to be an ABC corrective structure. ABC, pullback, and then we'll look for this one to push higher. Okay. That is the Dow and the NASDAQ. Let's look at this one. The smoother chart. So the NASDAQ is also a similar structure. Has made this structure here. Now the NASDAQ is a little bit different because this is the pullback, 3 waves, and a push higher. Now when you look at this, it does not look complete. Let's do this. What do I mean by it does not look complete? You've got a pulsing move here in yellow. It looks like you're doing this structure. 1, 2, 3. You should push back up a 1 before we drop. Okay, let's see how this plays out relative to the others. All right, so that is the NASDAQ. Let's look now at the DAX. Or rather, we'll start with the UK 100. Let's look at the UK 100. Okay, so UK 100, we've made a pulsing move. This one has made a 5-wave move to the downside. We looked at this one here to come drop here. We've got that drop now. You've got a pulsing move here. You've got a corrective structure. Possibility for this one to push a little bit higher, and then drop still, giving us a three-wave move as well. So we're looking for all these three-wave pullbacks in all these indices for the next week. All right, so that is the UK 100, NIKKEI. Start with the DAX. DAX, you can see the similar structure to the UK 100. You've got a pulsing move, and now you're looking for this one to correct here. Now this correction can even do this, can even come down here. It does not have to. So even if it does come here and just do this, it's all fine. As long as you are able to focus it when it's complete, so you can get this down move before you get the up move. Okay, that is the DAX. Now NIKKEI. NIKKEI has made a three-wave pullback. You can see 3 down, 3 up, and then we're looking for this one. Looks like it's going to make 5. So it's going to be like 5, 3, 5 here. Okay, so it's 5 waves down here, 3-wave pullback, and 5 waves down here. Now it looks like it's got one more down here. We've got 4 up to wave 4 here, and we'll be looking for this one to make the wave 5 to complete this structure. This one should complete around about here, and then we push back higher. Let's see how this plays out. Now that is the NIKKEI. NIFTY. NIFTY, we're still looking at this structure. The bigger structure to make an expanding flat. This one here, correction. Now we're looking for this one to come down here. Now this, remember, because it can be a running flat. If it's a running flat, it can turn at any time and push higher. Okay, because it looks like this 5-wave move to the downside has now completed here. But let's watch this for a reversal. But it looks like there is no signs of reversal as yet. Let's watch this in the next week to continue dropping. And even better if it retests here and breaks this lower here, that should push low higher afterwards. There's a very clean expanding flat there. All right, so that is the NIFTY. And now that's all the indices. That's all the indices. Now we can look at the majors, the US dollar pairs. Did I miss anything? I think we've covered all the indices, we've covered all the cryptos. Let's now look at the majors. Let's look at the DXY. Now the DXY, we looked at these to have completed. We're going to look at the euro as well when we look at this. Let's just take this off here. Just adjust here a bit. Let's go daily so it can be a clearer structure. Let's look at the daily. Right, now this is the DXY. We're looking at this to have been making this diagonal here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and thinking that this is the end of wave 5. There are now two possibilities here. This, when it was dropping here, we thought this was going to be a bigger wave 5 that will then drop like that. Okay, and it will not matter if it pushes up against the top boundary of the diagonal. Let me put it with the annotation here. Let's switch this off here. It will not matter if it pushed against the boundary between 3 and 5, because that will be an overshoot, which is allowed on the diagonal. Okay, so that is the structure that we'll be looking at. Now we're dropping with this 3-wave move to the downside, and that could be the start of that corrective structure. We've dropped in 3 waves like that. Now we could be getting a corrective structure like that, and we get another 3 waves like that, and that will be now the corrective structure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then that corrective structure that I've been looking for some time. Whether it does this and give us a bigger corrective structure before we continue with the move to the upside, doesn't really matter. So we need to watch this coming down here and see if we're going to get out of this boundary. If we get out of this boundary, then that means the corrective structure has started. Now let's see if I've got a. So this is what I'm looking for here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a corrective structure at the end. So now this is the corrective structure that I'm looking for here. Whether it makes a zigzag or it makes a flat correction, it doesn't really matter. It can be a flat correction like that with 3, 3, 3. Okay, so we will determine this as and when this is completed. So now we look through, trade this to the downside for the next coming session. All right, now this is the DXY. The euro is the inverse of what we just looked at now. As you can see here, Let's take this off. The same thing that we're expecting that after the diagonal should come a correction. We're not saying it's going to reverse, saying that there's going to come. We need to get a bigger corrective structure that corrects this whole move. You can see that for the past 2 years, this move has not been corrected. It has just been on the down. Okay, so now we're looking for this to make a corrective structure, whether it's going to make a three-way move like that, and that's going to be a whichever corrective structure, any of the 5 corrective structures that we've looked at, that Elliot has discovered, it can be one of those. So that's what we're looking at now. So what has happened here now? We've made a push to the upside. Will this go all the way? It does not look like it's going to go all the way. So let's just watch this one for this move here. So if this is the move, and if we're done and the correction is going to come, you're going to have this corrective structure here like this. And you're going to have a WXY structure. A combination, and this will correct the whole move. So let's watch for the next week upside here, at least to come retest here. There's still a possibility that it can be a 1, 2, 3, the last wave 5, and then the corrective structure comes. Right, so that is how you look at it. Now that is euro. Let's go to the lower time frame for hour. We've now got the impulsive move, so we'll be looking to trade this to the upside, to push higher, at least minimum back to the top of the boundary. That is euro. Now let's look at pound US dollar. So pound US dollar, three-way move. I've shown this one during trade setups that we wanted to sell it from the first blue box. It dropped in 3 waves and then pushed higher again in 3 waves. We are now in the higher degree blue box, and we're going to be looking for this to drop. Okay, so this is W, this is X, this is Y. Okay, so we'll see if this is going to drop now. We need to get an impulse from the box, and we have not gotten any impulse. So if that's not the structure that we're going to get another double corrective structure, and we get 2. Then it's going to push it higher. Okay, but that's just forecasting. Let's wait and see what we're going to get in the next week. Okay, that is pound US dollar on the 4-hour. US dollar CAD. Now, US dollar CAD, I can't imagine anyone who will be trading US dollar CAD in the last couple of days, because I mean, just look at this. It has just been going sideways. How do you trade this? You've got an impulsive move down, you've got an impulsive move up here, and this is now correcting in this structure here. Possibilities are this for this to drop lower, push a little bit higher, come down, and then push higher. Okay, now this is very difficult to trade. You don't even attempt to trade this because you're just going to lose money. You cannot be buying here because there's no buy setup, and you cannot be selling here because there's no sell setup. All you can do is wait for this corrective structure to complete and wait for this to push higher. Okay, so that's the structure that you will be looking at on US dollar CAD. For now, there's no buy or sell setup. You just leave this one for now until you get more detail on that. Now we're looking for US dollar CHF to drop, and you saw that euro US dollar is pushing higher, so that's simple. We'll be looking for this one to make a continuation pattern to the downside. How far must it go? You just need to look at the daily, because we can now see the structure clearly. What are we looking for now? We're looking for this one to come drop and retest this level. We've got the pulsing move now. Looks like we're getting a continuation pattern to come test here. Why? Because we're looking at this as a move to the downside, move up, and then a move down. So now this is a clear expanding flatter. We're going to have this as an A, a B, and a C. Okay, so let's see how this one plays out. So we're looking for this one to drop still. And you've got an impulse that's telling you continuation pattern to the downside. So do not just go and rush during when the market opens, because it's not just going to drop like that. You may find that it starts correcting like that, and then you can take your trade and continue to the downside. Right. Now this is US dollar CHF, Audi US dollar. Audi US dollar, we've made a pulsing move. We're looking for this to correct. Now this could be a 3-wave move, pullback, and this one does this, and then we continue lower. Okay, so for the next week, a slight move to the upside. You don't trade this move to the upside because this is still continuing to the downside. I think I've shown you the long-term view on this one last week. This is a 1-week view on Audi US dollar. So the structure here, this is my 1-week view. So I said, this is the structures that you guys you see on the pairs, the whole cycle there. So we are looking for this in the weekly. This one here, this one here, this one to continue lower. So even if we do push higher on AUD, it will not go all the way. It will just go retest the top here and then continue lower. So you can keep an eye on this and see how that plays out. That is AUD. New Zealand will be similar. Now New Zealand will guide us whether in terms of whether AUD is gonna go and retest the top here. If this continues and just comes and retest the previous low here, then AUD US dollar will also do the same. It will follow this one to the downside. That means it's not going to retest the top here. What are we looking for? We're looking for this one to make to have made a 11 string sequence to the downside and a move to the downside like this. Is this going to bounce? We have to see when you get to this level. Are we going to get a corrective structure? If we get a corrective structure, that means we're clearing that, and that is all the correction, and this is your structure. Okay. Now, if this is not all the correction, that means we're going to retest here, we're going to push higher, and then we're going to drop. So you're going to have this as a first move, your correction like that. Let's switch off, and that will be a structure like that. Okay, all that will be determined by this previous low. This level here is critical, not because it's a support or resistance line, but because it is a structural level. All right, so that's New Zealand US dollar. US dollar ZAR. So US dollar ZAR, we're looking for this one to push to 1570. I'm still looking for this to go to 1570 and maybe even break it, because that could make a 1, 2, 3, 1. Let's do this. Push higher. And it's a push higher. So that's what we're going to be looking at here on US dollar ZAR. Now there's a structure here. There's a running flat. There's an expanding flat there. So you can see it's 3 down, 3 up. Is this down? It done. This, you can see on the weekly, it is not dropping. It is still pushing higher. Let's go to the daily. Go lower. It's correcting and it's not dropping. This is a correction that tells you that this is still going to push higher. Now, even if you've got what looks like an impulsive move here, and it does this, you can get this as a 3-wave move, and then you go retest the top here before you drop. Okay, so that's US dollar ZAR, and that's how we're going to be looking at US dollar ZAR. Now you just watch this corrective structure. Let's go 4 hour. You just watch this corrective structure. Now the corrective structure, this is how this could play out. This is 3 waves down, 3 waves up, then this is like 5 waves, so it could be a expanding flat and a push higher like that. That's US dollar ZAR. Now let's look at the yen pairs. Pound yen, I showed this one during the trade setup session in the beginning. How I've been wanting to sell, continue to sell this one after this one has made a 3-wave move to the upside, and I thought it was going to drop here. It doesn't drop, it makes a double, 1, 2, 3, and now we're looking for this one. Is this going to eventually drop? If it does, we need to get a corrective structure here to continue to the downside. Okay, that is a pound. Let's go on the 4 hour. I've actually posted this one on TradingView as well. So there are 2 alternatives here. What we looked at in our group during the week, we also saw this. We also saw this diagonal here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. You can see that it's a diagonal. We saw the diagonal when this was still here. So this could have pushed up higher to complete the diagonal and come back. Now, if this is coming back for the diagonal, this is what's going to happen. It's going to correct the whole thing and give you 1, 2, and then we start a move to the upside. Because this is 5 waves, it cannot be a 3-wave structure. So you cannot have A, B, C, or W, X, Y there. So you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, and a 5. Okay, that is if this is a diagonal. So we have to watch this and see which structure it's giving us. It made sense for a diagonal, it also made sense for a 3-wave structure. Okay, so now this is the 3-wave structure that I'm looking at. We've now got a blue box area around exactly here. And we'll be looking for this one to drop. You'll see the update on TradingView as well. That is pound yen. Now, what do we wait for? You look for this to correct in the next coming sessions. You don't rush it. You don't just go sell because because they might as well just push it high again, and then we'll have to reanalyze the structure. That's pound yen. Pound US dollar, sorry, US dollar JPY. This is one of the most, one of those amazing trades that we took here in mid-August. Okay, so this was from the blue box coming down here, dropping a couple of hundred pips in a very short space of time. Let's just check here. So that was based on the blue box. Just want to see how many pips that drop was in very quick, 428 pips. Now, you'll see that we forecasted that we were going to get this corrective structure. Right, we got that. Now, after getting that corrective structure, I expected this to make a pulsing move, a correction, and a push lower. Now, that did not happen. And as much as I knew that this was coming down, I didn't trade that move because it did not set up according to my strategy. And sometimes you get those. If you understand your strategy, you will know when to stay out and when to get in. You don't just get in because you think it's going to do what you want it to do. The strategy, the theory must decide for you what to do. In this case, as much as I knew, there was nothing that I could do here. I could not trade this one to the downside because that's not how my strategy works. So instead, I got out of this and eventually it dropped, but I was not involved. Okay, so that is US dollar JPY. Now let's see here if we're going to drop to the downside. So now we've got one. There's a possibility that we've got 1, 2, 3 here. You've got this one as a three-wave move here, making an X here, 1, 2, 3, and then you get a WXY, and then you should get 1, 2, 3 here. You get this one as a WXY structure. Okay, so double correction, and that move continues to the downside. My overall target has always been 104. For this one, it can push even lower. So let's see if we're going to get this bounce. If you don't get this bounce, that means this was all the correction, and this is the last move to the downside. Very close now to the previous low on US dollar JPY. Okay, now let's look at Euro. Euro continuation to the downside. So this one has played out nicely. We looked at this one last week as well, that from here, after this making this corrective structure, it's going to drop. And that's exactly what happened. We got the drop. Still looking for this to continue lower with the rest of the yen pairs. Chief yen, same. You can see that's a similar structure as the euro. Again, here you'll see that I've even posted a setup for this one to give us a corrective structure here and then a drop. But this did not set up according to our strategy as well, which meant that we leave this one out. We sit this one out as well. And that's acceptable. If it is not clear, you don't force it. And that's how you protect yourself and your money. All right, so this is Chief Yen. What are we looking for now? This is now right almost at the previous low, so you don't want to be trading this at this level because from previous lows here, you can get a bounce. And that bounce may not necessarily be a reversal. It can be a bounce that starts a three-wave move and then continue to the downside. Even if it continued to the downside, it may come back from there because that can make a running flat or an expanding flat. Okay, so that's what you're looking at on Chief Yen. Continuation pattern back to the previous low here. AUD yen, same. You see that you've got a three-wave pullback and this one has dropped easily. You've got three-wave pullback, 1, 2, not like that. You've got a 1, 2, 3, what looks like an expanding flat. And now you're dropping with these three waves. This is too slow. It may even get another double correction here. Something like this. Then we'll look for this to continue. Now, if it continues from current level, that means this is all the correction, and then we'll look for this one to do that. That's AUD yen. New Zealand yen should be similar. Three-wave pullback and the three-wave pull down downside. 1, 2, 3. Now this one has made a three-wave move to the downside. 1, 2, 3. In this case, that means we should possibly get a bounce, but I don't see that bounce coming. I don't see the bounce coming, so this could be a double XY structure, and then we continue lower. Or this is all the correction there is, and this is going to drop just like that. Correction and continue to the downside with the rest of the yen pairs. Lastly, on the yen pairs is CAD yen. Same structure. 3-wave pullback. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to get a pullback and then a drop. Two things we can get here. We can get a pullback, or we can get this one to start correcting here and continue lower. You don't want to be trading at these levels. You need a strategy to confirm. All right, so that is CAD, and now let's look at gold and silver. Silver and gold. We'll start with gold. Gold, I have exited my trades from the time when we reached the 1,500 mark. Now this is going sideways. We've made a pullback here. Looks like a 3-wave move. If it is, then gold will still push lower. And if it pushes lower, that means you've got a corrective structure there. That means you may still have one more up before any drop. Let's switch off so you can see. And that is the structure that you're looking for. So you don't just go rush to buy gold. Wait for a clear corrective structure. Wait for the strategy to confirm. Silver, similar structure, could also go back. Passing move down, we look like we're making a 3-way move to the upside. Are we going to reverse here, retest the low and push higher and make this corrective structure? Must always expect both possibilities. I always expect both possibilities when we make a correction. All right, so that is silver and gold. Let's look now at the pound pairs. Let's start with pound chief. Now, pound chief, you saw during the trade setups that we focused that from here, this is going to push higher into the blue box to form the last move, and then we've got this to the downside. Are we going to get this one to continue lower? Let's see, this is what we're looking for this to continue lower. Very clear 11 swing sequence or 3 or 5 wave move in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 W, X, Y, X, Z. We're looking for the drop there. So next session, expect corrective structure there. Right? There's a question on the chat box. Let me see if I can read and answer. You guys just weren't looking for me to look at other pairs. Somebody was talking about diagonal and pound yen. That's okay. All right, so that is pound chief, and we're looking for this one to push one more down. Now, if you look on the daily, pound yen, or pound chief rather, has reached the previous low. Let's switch off here. It's the previous low that we've been looking at here. So even if this makes a pullback in 3 waves and come back and drops here, that will still be fine. So we are correcting at this critical level. Are we going to make a structure for upside? Because if it's going to be a structure for upside, we need to have a 3-way move here like this. Otherwise, this is your move. It's a 3-wave move, and this is going to continue lower from this. So that will be your W, that will be your X, and then your Y. That's why you're looking for continuation patterns here. So, and that's why I have been saying you are not selling the pound pairs as yet. I mean, you're not buying the pound pairs as yet. So you've just been selling from the top. Okay, so that is pound chief. Now we've got this bounce here, and I'm looking for this one to start reversing. And if it doesn't, we're gonna have something like this. 3-way move. And remember, this 3-way move is happening at that critical structural level. That means if we push lower than this, it's going to continue lower. That's pound chief, pound Audi. Now, pound Audi, this structure is currently happening at that trend line on the weekly. Let me show you the trend line on the weekly on this one, or let's see if we can see it on the daily first. Now, remember, we don't trade trend lines. This just guides us. forecast our structure. Let's take this off. So this push higher, regardless of how it's happening on pound AUD, is simply just looks like a corrective structure to me, and we are still gonna go lower. Okay, so why are we going lower? Because we're starting this three-wave move down, three waves pull back, and then we'll be looking for this. Right, so that is pound AUD. Pound New Zealand, also a very deep pullback. Let's watch and see what happens here now. If this is going to correct here, that means the other pound pairs are going to drop. So this, it is possible for this to have an opposite direction to what the rest of the pound pairs are, depending on the driver. The driver could be the New Zealand here. Okay, so that is New Zealand. So what we look for is an impulsive move down and continuation to the downside. Not a very clear one at this stage, because it's telling us that we've got a three-wave move up, three-wave pullback, and a move higher. Now, if this is the structure here, three-wave move up, we should get another one like this. Then we get this as a WXY structure. You can see that this is all forecasting, so we're not trading this as yet. We're just watching it. That is pound New Zealand, and lastly on the pound pairs, pound CAD. Pound CAD also making a three-wave corrective structure. And we look for this to do this. We're also at a critical level, even if it pushes lower, may go back for one up. That's pound CAD. Let's look at the euros, the euro pairs. Euro pound. Now, if you remember euro pound, I've got this one on trade setups. Has been a trade for the week for the last couple of sessions. I think beginning of August, it was in the beginning of August. So this is the one here. We expect this one to correct here and push higher. Actually pushed higher than this, went and retested the previous high, which is what we want. Where are we now? We are now dropping here. We are now dropping here. That means any corrective structure here, you should try to sell this one here. The only thing that will invalidate this is if this one pushes higher. But that's the structure that we're going to be looking at now. We've now pushed up higher. We are now here. We're looking for continuation patterns to the downside. Let's have a look at the structure itself. Current price on the chart. You can see we've got a pulsing move. What do we want? We've gone down in three waves. What we want here is a pullback to enter this. All right, that's euro pound. Euro New Zealand, I showed you the similarity between this structure here that's happening. So there's a trend reversal pattern that happened. It's a trend reversal pattern now. What are we going to be looking for? We'll be looking for this to drop, simply because of that. So let's see how this plays out. And the reason why we want this to drop is because we've got this structure here. Let's switch off here. You can see the structure that we want here to drop. There's a pattern that's showing us this has been a trend reversal pattern previously. It can be the same. So here we've got one, and now we're looking at this one to have made a complex B correction. And then we've got the pulsing move. Now we're looking for this to continue with the move to the downside. Right, so that's Euro New Zealand and what we're looking at. Now check this one out for a reversal in the 1 hour or 4 hour. EURAUD. Pull back in three waves. And continue pattern and continuation to the downside. That's what we're going to be looking at. Let's look at this on the 4 hour. This had made 1, 2, 3 waves to the downside, has made a 3-wave pullback. I was expecting that this was going to continue lower. Now it has pushed up higher. So that means you've got 1, 2, 3. We're now going to start this one as a pulsing move, corrective structure, one more up, and look for downside before pushing higher. Right, so that is Euro New Zealand. EURAUD, we already looked at. That's what we're looking at now. Euro New Zealand, you saw the pattern. So this pattern here in the beginning, we're looking for this to drop. How does the how did we look at the patterns? We said it's a three-way move down. It's a red pullback. After the pullback comes blue down, blue pullback, and then you get this. So you're still waiting for a couple of moves, 1, 2, and then drop. So any sell setup that you find on Euro New Zealand, you take it, expecting that this one is going to drop. Just wanted to clarify that. Now EUROCAD has made a three-wave move to the downside, pullback rather, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and now we're pushing up with this one. We're going to correct and push a little bit higher. Let's see. So what this look will look like now is a pulsing move. It's a 5-wave move to the upside. You've got a 3-wave pullback, 1, 2, 3, and now we're getting pulsing move to the upside. So that will be an ABC structure, and look for this to drop. Okay, that's what you're going to be looking at. We're looking for this to push higher and then drop. That's EuroCAD. And that concludes all the Euro pairs, or there's still EURCHF. Now EURCHF is continuing to the downside after making this 3-wave pullback. 1, 1, 2, 3, and then we're dropping with this move. Just be careful, as I said, we are at critical areas as well with the EUROCHF, but still needs to push to the downside. That's all the Euro pairs, Euro pound we've done, Euro New Zealand, AUD, and CAD, all done. Okay, now let's look at some of the cross pairs and then oil. AUDJPY. This has made a 3-wave move. Even though it looks funny here at the top, it is still a 3-wave move, and you're getting a push to the downside. And this is how you track this. This is how you track this. Now you're looking for this to push lower. All right. Looking for that trade to continue lower. That is AUDJPY, AUD New Zealand. So this year, you need to get a deeper corrective structure and then push higher. Let's see how this plays out. That is AUD New Zealand, CADJPY. CADJPY similar to AUDJPY. You've got a 1, 2, 3. Or this can be slightly different. Make this, let's do this. Could be slightly different. Could be a 3-wave move to the upside. I see a regular flat here as well. And the push higher. And if it does this, it's just a 3-wave pullback, and then we'll expect a push lower still. AUDCAD, 3 up, 3 back. And this will be a W for the first one, a X, and then a Y for the one that we're focusing here. Then continuation to the downside. That's AUDCAD, New Zealand CAD. Correction, push higher. New Zealand CHF. As we move to the upside, 1, 2, 3, a push higher. Let's use yellow here and switch off there. And we'll be looking for this to do this, push lower. All right, so that is New Zealand CHF. All right, now let's look at oil. Oil, we have been spot on with oil for the last couple of sessions. We got this drop here. We actually got the correction to form as expected, has now dropped to these 3 waves. And now we've started a push to the upside. Can this make a 3-wave structure like that? And then we'll have this one doing that. Okay, so let's see how this plays out. So this could be an A, B, and a C structure. And that is the structure that we're looking at here, unless this changes. And that's all, guys. Please don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button so you get a notification the next time I post a video. Thank you very much for attending. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great week, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye.